Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is M.Dimas Arya. My student's number is 38. In this video, I would like to explain and demonstrate about the second topic, which is about the theory of explaining teaching material. So, presenting the material is one of the daily tasks of the teacher. So here, in this video, I would like to explain the 4 steps that teachers should do when presenting the material. So the first step is we must getting student attention. Attention is the main key on entire steps. It's about how students think about our material in their mind. So I will show you how we as a teacher can getting student attention. So student, before we start in the first hour material today, please check your book and also your paper and also your pen. And please keep your smartphone and other stuff that don't have relation on our learning material today to your bag. So that example, how we ask them to checking their learning stuff. Based on this, they will prepare all the learning stuff and try to focus for the task that will prepare and that will convey at a time. Second step is delivering advanced organizer. Advanced organizer is something that can simply describe the material that should be delivered by the teacher. So here we can use an analogy or something story that can describe our outline the material. For example, here I want to explain to my teacher about cells. So here I will show and use an example of an analogy that can describe my material that will I presented to my student. So here I give them a picture that can be analogy about my material about cells. So student, here I have a picture. So these pictures show us about how these cements and bricks can reconstruct the building. It can be building for school, for example, schools, a mosque, college, and other buildings. So it seems like our cells. So the works of the brick and cement is likewise a cells that can reconstruct all the living stuff, all the living life, and the living things in our body. So by provide them an analogy, they will understand the material and the outline the material that we will deliver and present to them. So after we getting student attention and we delivering advanced organizer, so we start to step in the third step. So the third step is explaining and delivering our teaching material. So here the main concern of our step that we will provide for our students. So there are several aspects that we must consider. So the first step is we have to, this is really important, we must have to master the material first. We must know the material that we want to deliver with our student. We must know the outline, what the main focus that we will be teaching to them, and others element and aspect that the teacher will accept before and after the material be delivered. So the first thing we must master our material first, and beside that we must consider several aspects too. The first one is the clarity of explaining the material. So it's sometimes it's like how we convey our material with well. So the first is adjusting volume of the voice. So we must louder if the class is more bigger and the student is a lot of student at our class. We must adjusting of the volume of our voice so the material will be delivered with well. And the second one is about speaking speed. We must recognize our speaking speed. We must not too fast, student blah 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 blah. Student will not get the point if we really talking as fast like that. So we must consider that things, we must not too slow, not too fast, but we must like have to manage the speed of our speaking. So it's maybe our student really don't understand, we must get too slow, and yeah, don't be too fast while presenting the material. So the next is about choosing the word that the student understand, so they will will clarify the material. So that's about the clarity of explaining the material. And the second one is the use of example that familiar to the our students. So we must taken the example from our nearly environment. For example, I want to teach about animals or vocabulary. Yeah, I must provide the material or the example about, for example, animals. What animals that live in our environment? For example, like we often see cat, we often see dogs or monkey or horse, something like that. Because sometimes teacher use and second example from the book, and the book that will be delivered is about an expert from other country. For example, an expert from China, and it's explained about panda. Our student can imagine how panda look like. So it's sometimes really matter for nowadays education that teacher always and even often use the example from the book that our teacher do not know what is look like exactly. So we must choose and taken the example from our near environment. For example, I want to teach animals, and we must provide about the animals that live in a student environment. And the third one is about transition. After we explaining the material, for example, like yeah, I was talking about cells before, and I was talking about animals. So before, in the transition between animals and between cells and animals, I must have get to the transition, so student will can imagine and can think with deep about both outline or both the material. So detention here is something like bridge between the idea and the subject, and also to give the opportunity to students to think further about the material before moving to the next subject. So we may have consider about transition also. And the fourth one is enthusiasm. This is really important for me because we as a teacher, we must give them a positive vibe. By give them smile, we must give our smile, we must smile, and also we must show them a positive impression. So if we have enthusiasm with good enthusiasm, the student will have also have a spirit, a good spirit that we will about our material, that they learn about material. So yeah, the enthusiasm is really important too. So it's about the third step. After we deliver and explain our material, we have to conclude that as the fourth step. So the fourth step is to get the checking the student understanding. So we must get our student is really understand or not about the material that we have described it and explained it before. So there are several ways that teacher can do, but sometimes teacher use a words like, so students, do you understand? It's a wrong way for me, because if we ask them like that, the student is surely answer with, yeah, we understand. But in the reality, it's not. They don't understand what we have teach them, we have explained them. So it's a wrong way or wrong method that can be used in concluding or checking our students' understanding. Meanwhile, we must show something like a way that can make them critical thinking, make them build a critical thinking. For example, after we teach them, explain the material, we must say like this: okay, teacher, that's all for our material. So I have assignments in the end of the section. You must conclude each of you must conclude the material and that have been explained before. So after you conclude, please give your opinions in front of the class, or just raise your hand from your seat. So it's kind of asking them understanding. It's by concluding and by review again the material that been taught and explained. So by asking them conclude for each student to get the conclusion is the best way to checking the student understanding. So that's all the theory that I can explain about how the teacher can explain the teaching material. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.